Okay, hello everyone. We are going to start this second day of rule changes for referees in English spoken. Today we are going to be with two more gold level referees both from Colombia. Irwin Medina. Say hello, Irwin. There.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening us.
Okay, and the other one from Colombia, Chile, and Germany, Shio Cardona.
From the world.
From the
Welcome, everyone.
world. Okay, he's going to support us. Okay, Shio, can you check the chat box just in case?
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to start. We are only 10 persons here, but we are going to wreck the meet, and then you will have the link. Okay, where we were yesterday here. Then we stopped here yesterday. Give me 1 second. There. Okay. We were here. We are with the technical rule number 16.5.3 about the starts. Remember that the voices in the starts are on your marks, set, and then if any athlete or anything outside the starts with noise or movement, the first you have to do as a starter is to abort the start. You have to abort the start, whether or not it's caused a false start. Then you will have to decide what happens with this. So this is the main change of the rule in 16.5.3. That said, when an athlete action starts, the start referee may, first of all, if the athlete does not comply with start order voices, causes others to make a false start with movement, noises, etc. Or if he or she does not cause others to make a false start, but makes a false start several times in the same starts, the referee, remember the start referee, not the starter, the start referee, have the options to show the yellow card or the red card in the case of a disqualification directly. And on other statement, if the athlete action starts do not make others to produce a false start, for example, because we have external factors like noises, like something like this, then it causes the abort of start, and there the referee must show the green card in that case. Okay, Shio, something to add here?
Yeah. So, guys, for some, I see some familiar names. Maybe you were in previous Zoom calls that we did last year, in the previous couple of years. I'm always very keen with this concept, and you need to remember this, especially the people that normally do the starts in your countries. It's better to repeat a start process. It's better. You have no problem to repeat a start procedure several times. It's not a problem. What is a big problem is to have to repeat a heat or a complete race or a complete run for something that happened in the start. It's better for you if you are either the main starter, or if you are one of the assistants, or if you are helping the starter, the main starter, because it's 200, 400 stagger start. If you notice something, anything in particular that you are not comfortable with, it's better for you to break the procedure and send the athletes back and have the green card and green card everyone. Then something happened. You thought that maybe it's not a big thing, or someone moved, or a big noise, or dogs in the start, or whatever, because these things happen. it's better for us to stop the procedure and repeat the start procedure than have to repeat a whole race, a whole heat, or someone that was affected, that was truly affected, will have to run again by himself or something like that. Those are not ideal conditions. So if there is anything, even if it's minimal, even if it's something that you are not comfortable with, something that you will think like, yeah, maybe we just let it roll. Don't let it roll, because it's better to repeat a start procedure, break the procedure, and repeat the start procedure than repeat the whole race. So always remember this. Remember that the two big pillars in officiating in athletics, in track and field, is it has to be secure, it has to be perfect for everyone, it has to be for the spectators, the coaches, the athletes, the officials, has to be secure, has to be healthy for everyone, and it has to be just. It has to be equal for every athlete. So if there is any condition, anything that happens that you think that maybe will affect any of the athletes, it's better to break the procedure and repeat the start procedure than have to repeat a whole race or a partial race, or someone who have to run by themselves or something like that. So if there is anything that you think like, maybe this is not good, if there is something that is not just, even for a single athlete, it's better to break the procedure and repeat the start procedure than have to repeat the whole race.
Okay, thank you, Shiu. Now, Irwin, are you next?
The next, please. Okay. You listen me? You can listen? Yeah. This slide used for explain a change of terms. Now the rules do not say record in the case of the photo finish. You say capture. Change, for example, this composite image must be composed of at least 1,000 images per second will be changed. Now, for this composite image must be captured at minimum rate of 1,000 frames per second. Just in case of the high level events. In low level events, the photo finish can capture at 100 frames per second. It's all. It's just a change of terms, change a word. It's no more. Next, please. Next slide. Thank you. Now for remember, when you have a 800 meters race, in a good situation, you have an athlete, one lane. But in some cases, you have two athletes for a same lane. So in some competitions, you will be run with our lanes. We can using our RZ start line or the group starts like in what events? In events like international match with representative of the different areas, or an international match with representative athletes of one area or one national competitions. So this rule permit just make a start with 800 meters using a group of lanes, group of starts, or use an curve start line. Okay. Now is a change for when we have even with night lanes in all the stadium. So when we have races and we have qualification rounds, we need make a draw for lanes. So in the first round, it's a simple draw. but after round, after the first round, the athletes shall be ranked, and after will be draw. So if you have 8 lanes in the stadium, so you have the traditional draw. We have 3 different types of or categories. The first one, straight races. The second one, 200 and 300 meter races. And the last one is for 400 meters or more. So what is the change? The change is now wrote in the rules when you have night lanes in your track. So in this case, you have the next draw. In the first hand, for straight races, like 100 hurlers, you need make 4 draws. One draw for the 3 highest ranked athletes or teams for determined places in lanes 4, 5, and 6, like in the image. You can see the blue, and the number 1 is for the first draw. Other draw for the 4th and 5th ranked athletes who will be placing in the lanes 3 and 7. So you need draw these athletes. A third draw for the 6th and the 7th ranked athletes for determine the lanes 2 and 8. And finally, 2 lowest ranked athletes for determine the lanes 1 and 9. I think with the colors and with the explanation is clear. If you need something like repeat or anymore, I don't know, Gio, Diego. In other hand, we have the second category, 200 meters, 300 meter hurdles. We need, remember, this draw is for a track with 9 lanes, no? For 200 and 300 races with 9 lanes, you have 3 draws. The first one for the 4 highest ranked athletes for determine the lanes 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can see in the middle image marked with a red color. So lanes 5, 6, 7, and 8 will be a draw for the 4 highest ranked athletes. The second draw for the 5 and 6, 7th ranked athletes for draw lanes 3, 4, and 9. And finally, the 2 lowest ranked athletes for determine the lanes 1 and 2. And finally, you can see the image. We have again 4 draws for races in 400 meters or more. We have again 4 draws. The first one for the 3 highest ranked athletes, you can see the lanes red in the last image, will be determined place in lanes 5, 6, and 7. The second draw for athletes 4 and 5th ranked, you can see in blue, determine the lanes 4 and 8. Other draw, the third one, for the 6th and 7th ranked athletes for determine placings lanes 3 and 9. And finally, the two lowest ranked athletes for determine lanes 1 and 2. Is all when you have 9 lanes in your track. If you have 8 lanes, okay, you have the traditional draws is in the rule 20.4 maybe. So it's a traditional. The new ones is when you have a track with 9 lines. Finally, remember, if you like the technical delegate, use only 8 lanes. You will be go to block the lane 1. No use the lane 1. So you have 8 athletes. Don't use the lane 1. Is the technical delegate decision, no? And finally, with all about the draws, you need to remember the technical delegate can not use the official lane distribution in the qualification rounds if it's necessary for the competitive and sport shows. So it's mandatory at the final rounds, but in criteria of technical delegate, he can change the distribution of lanes. Next one, please. Okay. Hurdles races. That is new, but no all. So we now have a new distance in hurdles races. In this case, is 300 meters hurdles races. And remember that just will be jump, the athletes will be jump 7 hurdles when run 300 meters hurdles. The distance, we can see the distance from the start line to the first hurdle is 50 meters. 50 meters is the distance from the start line to the first hurdle. The distance between hurdles is 35 meters, and the distance from the last hurdle to the finish line is 40 meters. What about the height of the category? Is the same like 400-meter hurdles, no change, are the same heights. That is all. Is a new race, new standard. Well, so next, please. Okay. About relay races. Now we have 400 mixed relay. Is a new standard distance for relays and will be run. It's mandatory now. Please remember that. The order. Male, female, male, and female. Is mandatory to men's and to women for compose the relay, the team. Just like for 400 meters mixed relay. It's the same. It's the same composition. And okay, the correct order for run is male, female, male, and female. Next one. Okay. About hurdles races, we need to remember some things. About the DQs, you can have a direct DQ or indirect, a direct or indirect node done of a hurdle made by an athlete, but touch knocking what hurdle in other lane different that on and cause some time of situation in a race. So you need remember it's not necessary a DQ. The nose or the situation must be cause a significant effect or obstruction to another athlete. When you have a minor displacement that does not involve a violation of another rule, is not result in a disqualification. It's not necessary. Just in case the athlete in the lane 4 touch and maybe displace a little the hurdle in the lane 5, but for the athlete in the lane 5 is no matter. You don't need to make a DQ over the lane 4. It's just in case when you have a significant event, a significant effect from the other athlete. I don't know if it's clear. Maybe Gio or maybe Diego can help me about that rule or.
Yes, it's clear. Just to add that, like other changes, this one is after something that happens in last World Championship in the final of the 110 hurdles in male competition, and it was clear how it would say. I don't know if Shio want to say something.
Yeah, just a quick note. This is an example of something that we've been making emphasis throughout the last maybe 6-8 years. And there are prime examples of this in another situations. Remember that our duty is not to go out to the track to try to DQ as many athletes as we can. That's not our job. Our job is to provide a secure environment for the athletes to do their best performances, and that environment has to be just for everyone. So if a situation happens where the athlete, you always, when you are going to DQ someone, and we have been seeing this throughout changes in the rules for the last 12-15 years, when you are about to DQ someone, you have to evaluate always two things. Did the athlete gain any material advantage? And did the athlete, with the action that he did directly or indirectly, affected someone else? If both of those answers are no, didn't get any material advantage, and no, didn't directly or indirectly affected anyone else, don't DQ the athlete, because our main focus there is not to DQ as many athletes as we can. Actually, when you are actively trying to DQ as many athletes as you can, we are not going to evaluate you as a good official, because that's not the description of a good official's job. A good official is there to provide a safe environment for the athletes to be safe and secure and just, and provide justice for all of them. So, and we can see examples of these changes in the rules throughout the last 15 years. When if the athlete doesn't gain any material advantage and doesn't interfere with anyone else, we normally don't DQ them. That's why, remember a long time ago, maybe some of you will remember, a long time ago, if the athlete went out of his lane, assigned lane, let's say 100, 200, 400, automatically it was a DQ. Either if it was towards the right or towards the left. And then they evaluate, like, but if he goes in a bend, if he goes outside towards the outside of the track, he's not gaining any material advantage. And if the athlete on that lane, it's already ahead or is 15, 20, 100 meters behind, and is not affecting that athlete on that outside lane, there is no material advantage, there is no gain, there is no obstruction. So don't DQ that person. When you can DQ someone, when it's allowed for you to DQ someone, when it's gaining a material advantage and advancing towards the inside of the track, towards the left. So you can see those examples throughout the whole changes for the last 15, 17, 20 years. This is one of those better examples, because we knew from the changes that in track, in sign lanes, it was already on the rule book, maybe sometimes in the green explanations, maybe sometimes even in the rule by itself. But now this is a prime example. Something happened. Normally the rules sometimes are proactive, sometimes are reactive. This is a clarification that was reactive to something that happened in Tokyo, because when that happened, the athlete didn't affect anyone and didn't gain any material advantage. But how the rule was written, the athlete will have to be disqualified. But then they will say, like, yeah, but he didn't do any of all of those things. He didn't gain any material advantage, and he didn't affect anyone else. So that's why they plaster that in the rule book now. But this is just the latest example. But we have been seeing those kind of examples throughout the last 20 years. When if an athlete doesn't gain any material advantage and doesn't affect anyone else, there is no gain for the athlete. So don't DQ it. So yeah, that's the main focus here. It's just something that myself, Diego, and Erwin, we've been trying to get into the officials. We are not better officials for dequalifying 100 athletes. We are not better officials for trying to actively go and hunt as many athletes as we can. Those are not qualifications for a good official. Good official is someone that provides a safe environment for the athletes to be just and secure, for them to do the best as they can. So try to remember that.
So just keep in mind, you need to have a significant effect over someone else for think in a DQ. Follow the words that Gio shared with us. For example, not significant effect. It's just a guide, yeah, like a follow. When you don't have race rim change, when no shorten or lengthen the stride, when you don't have a direction change, or when you cause an impact with the hurdle that will not have happened without the displacement of the hurdle. So in these cases, I think you need check before make and DQ. So it's a judge's work. We need evaluate when a horror was displaced. It's not mandatory a DQ. It's not a direct DQ for that. Just take note about the Gio's word. Okay. So in this slide, for remember, when you have a relay team and the team run in a first round, only you have and two additional change of athletes before you have 4 changes. Now in the rule book, actually, we have only 2 additional change. It's all. And other change is about the technology use in the judging of 4 and 400 meters relay or middle relay for take the correct paces of athletes of the teams about the other straight for recognition. Maybe Jamaica is the first team, followed by Bahamas, and followed by. It's now it's allowed the use of the technology for determine that. It's okay, and this technology will be available to the referees in special monitors for that purpose. Next one. Yeah. The athletes in relays have the I don't know, the right for use a mark in the own lane. About the marks in a track relay, you need to check that. You have allowed use one mark for athlete. The dimensions are 5 centimeters for 40 centimeters with a distinctive color, which cannot be confused with the color of the track, or cannot be confused with the lines of the track, and it not be a permanent mark in the track. So if you have, for example, adhesive tape that complies the rule, the athlete can be maybe sort the tape and do a sign and can change the form. Always follow the rule, one or more pieces to make a single marker on a different shape to stand out more clearly. The athlete can't. Is good, is allowed, but you remember the principles, the mains. One check mark for athlete in the own lane, the dimensions, and the mark is just temporarily. When the relays run, when the relays finish, this mark will be removed for the judges, for the auxiliary judges. So it's all in this slide. Maybe remember, if an athlete wear gloves or use some kind of substance on their hands or on the bottom in order to obtain a better grip of the bottom, their team will be disqualified. No? It's all new. When the bottom fall in a race, it be recovered by who dropped it. Always no obstruction to other athletes. The athlete should now not return to the point of fail, because now the World Athletics think that was sufficient harm was already been, because and it was difficult to verify. So it's enough, and don't go to disqualified. Remember, if the bottom fall, the athlete who dropped it go to recover, and if no make obstruction over else, they can return and final the race. Another thing, the button must be on the hand of the last athlete when pass over the finish line. No, it's
Yeah.
all in this slide.
Give me 1 second. I continue from here, no?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm going
Irwin.
to Gio.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Just for the last one, that the clarification says that the baton needs to be in the hand of the final athlete that crosses the finish line. This doesn't mean that the athlete will automatically be disqualified if he loses the baton when crossing the finish line. And it actually the explanation states that if he crosses the finish line without the baton, but he goes and picks up the baton, goes back and crosses the finish line with the baton in the hand, then that will be sufficient punishment for them, because then you will clock the athlete. on the last time he crossed the finish line with the baton in the hand. So the penalty, the punishment will be the loss of the time. But it doesn't mean that you will automatically disqualify the athlete when he crosses the finish line without the baton, because sometimes they will lose the baton will cross the finish line, they will cross the finish line, they will pick up the baton, go back. He doesn't have to go back all the way where he lost it. He just needs to go back to be able to cross the finish line again with the baton in the hand, and that will be sufficient punishment enough because of the loss of the time. So just a quick clarification.
Thank you, Shio. Okay, now we are going to start with the field events. Technical rule 25.6, about the attempts order at all stand jumps and throws. Remember that when you have an event with up to 8 athletes, inclusive 8, at the third attempt, you have to make a reorder for the next attempts. So if you at this moment you have 2 athletes with no mark, with faults, with passes, etc., with no marks, these athletes are going to compete in the same original order of the start list. Okay, this is a clarification. We know this, but it's more clear. Okay, then we have an important explanation about the calculation of time in vertical jumps. Remember that every athlete have times to start the attempt in field events. Then the technical rule 25.17 said that you have to count the athlete in competition when the bar is raised. And now it's added that we used to do this, but it's a clarification. It's saying that also you must count again the athletes when the bar is lowered. Foresee the table situation for the first position. We are going to see this in a result sheet. Sorry. It's more clear here. Here we have a situation with a tie in the first place. They pass the 215 in the same attempt. They have the same total fails in the competition. Then we are going to make the first attempt in the following height that they fail. So 220. There you have to count the athlete there. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 athletes. Then they are going to have 1 minute for the attempt. Then in the next situation, all fails the 220, so you have to lower the bar there to 2 centimeters less. So you have 218, and there you have 2 athletes passing make a good champ in the 218, 1 fault and 1 retired. The fault is out, the retired is out. So we are going to have 2 athletes remaining, and we are going to raise the bar, and we have to count 2 athletes. So they are going to have 1.5 minutes for their attempts. I think this is clear. Shio, do you want to add something here?
No, just make a kind of like a note in here, because this is a prime example of something that we have been discussing throughout the recent years. From maybe 6 years ago, we have started to see more ties that affect first place for field events and for qualification rounds, for semifinals to finals, or last places to next rounds. A couple of those examples. Once it happened to us, actually 2 times it happened to us in indoors in Belgrade some years ago. It happened in a couple of under 20s world champs, happened in the last war relays as well, and the previous ones. So you will see from this point on more situations where we're going to have to see, we already started to see more the conditions for us to have ties, especially for first places or deciding places for advancement to other finals or other competitions. So you need to be aware of the conditions, like, for example, when you have a tie for the last place for a qualification round towards the semifinal or the final. So the rule now says that you have to do a draw between the athletes tied. Same is in here. Now they're becoming more specific in the situations where we have ties, because we started to see more ties every time. Actually, if you remember, a couple of years ago, World Championships in Budapest 23, that I was in the final for the pole vault girls, we had a tie for the first position, and they decided to keep the tie and be two of them be second. Then the year after that, in Paris Olympic Games, we had a situation with the high jump men, and even before that, the high jump as well for the previous Olympic Games. Same with Italian and the Qatari athlete in the high jump. So these are situations that we have become more common. So you need to be aware of the conditions to how to deal with those conditions, with those jump offs or ties for the first place or ties for a qualification last place, something like that. So because we used to dismiss all of these rules because we didn't find them interesting enough or needed enough, because those situations were not common. Now those situations are common. So you need to keep in mind all those situations and all those conditions and how to deal with those conditions when you encounter any type of ties or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Shio. Here is a clarification. Remember that yesterday we talked about the retired athletes with the error in the results sheet. And it said that in technical rule 26.2, when you have the absence of an athlete when all others had finished there, the referee, you as a referee, must call the athlete who is not there, let the appropriate time pass, for example, 1 minute, 1.5, 2 minutes, whatever. And if the athlete is not shown there, so the referee must consider that the athlete has abandoned the competition with an error in the result. So this is a clarification. Then, this is a recommendation, a strong recommendation we have in the green text in the technical rule 28.1, the statement that said that in pole vault, when the athlete have in any situation consecutive attempts because it was his turn, his or her turn, because he's going to have a replacement trial because the pole was broken and the replacement trial is consecutive there. This is not mandatory, but is a high recommendation, a more proactive attitude by the referee. So the judge, the referee, must check with the athlete regarding the position of the uprights. You are going to go with the athlete, talk with him or her, and ask about the position of the uprights. You know that this is not your duty in normal circumstances, but it's a high recommendation when the athletes have consecutive attempts. So there you should have a more proactive attitude. Next, also in pole vault, technical rule 28.2.2, green text. It's a clarification about the photo of attempt. Remember that an athlete can start the attempt running in the runway, can post the pole there, can jump there, and up to this moment it's not a fault. He or she could go back and start again if the athlete have enough time. But when any part of the body or the pole rather than simple touch the landing zone or the ground after the line, remember that you have a zero line there, without first obviously passing the bar, it's going to be a fault. Okay, it's clear? Maybe Shio wants to add something here.
No, it's just a clarification.
Yeah.
It was kind of a debate point in especially in the high level officials a couple of years ago. But it's just a clarification because when the athletes go, when they did the change for the long jump, triple jump, that it was the foul now is not touching the ground beyond the break line. Now is breaking the plane. They were saying that why is not the same for the case in the pole vault. So they just make the clarification because they will not gain any material advantage, even if they do break the vertical plane by the ground, by the point, by the 0 pointed pole vault. So it's just a clarification, just to state in simple words that is the touch, the action of touching beyond the plane is the one that matters. Just to make the clarification between the two grammar points that they are trying to make between the long jump, triple jump, and the high jump, pole vault. For example, in the high jump as well, when they are going for the jump and they try to renounce the effort, but they break the plane. Remember that in high jump, pole vault is not the breaking of the plane, is the touching beyond the plane. So those are important. And I just wanted to make a quick clarification of the previous one. I'm sadly to admit that I was kind of one of the officials that proposed, kind of like proposed, like a push on this explanatory point, because it happened in Budapest 23 final for the same situation where the tie for the first place with the Swiss jumper Angelica Moser. She was in the maybe top 4 or 5th athletes, and she jumped. It's her second attempt. She fell. She went down. She walked towards her coach. And on that moment, this clarification was not in the rules. We just kept going. We set up the crossbar. We set up the uprights in the measurement that she asked before, and we set everything up. We did the call. We started the time. And by that time, and this is a link between another change, because remember, another change that happened a couple of years ago that affected this change is that now we cannot make any changes in the position of the uprights after everything is set and the time has started. When the time has started, though that change is for like maybe 3-4 years ago, we started the time, and then from that point we cannot make any adjustments. So she approached us and said like, hey, can I change again for, let's say, 65 to 70? And I had to explain to her like, sorry, but the new rule states that after the time starts, I cannot make any changes. And she didn't know that, so we were not able to make the change, the adjustment for the uprights. The time had to continue. She tried to jump, and sadly she missed. I made the comment. I know she made the comment with her coach, and the National Federation as well made the comment. But those are situations. See how they did propose of the change, not to change the upright position after the time started, because situations happened before of that change when we were making the adjustment and the bar will fall. So they make that the World Athletics made that change, but we didn't fully evaluate all the different scenarios that change will have on an active competition. When we encountered this, the World Athletics evaluated like, yeah, they are right, because she didn't have enough time. And then in the roll rule, she will approach us, we'll stop the time, we'll make the adjustment, and if the bar will fall, we stop the time, we post the bar and something. But with that change, more situations appear that we didn't consider before. So that's why they made these recommendations. So when there is consecutive attempts for the same athlete, just consider to ask the athlete on courtesy if they are thinking about changing the position of the ABRAAT, because it already happened. So it's good that World Athletics is changing and is keeping those ideas in mind. But as you can evaluate this exact example as how we evolve the rules, and one change will propose another change and will propose another one, because they are all linked. All the rules are linked. And again, as the same common goal as to provide the athletes a safe and just environment.
Thank you, Shio. We are going to continue with the technical rule 29.5. It's about the use of technology in horizontal jumps, in triple jump and long jump. Obviously, you know that in most important competitions, it's mandatory to use, like the photo finish, like this, is similar technology. It is mandatory, like I said, in World Championship, Olympic Games, World Athletic Series, Diamond League, etc. The camera must have 120 photograms by second and a resolution of 4K. This is mandatory, I repeat, in the most important competitions. But it is a recommendation, a strong recommendation at other events. Remember that from the change of rule of the break of the vertical jump at the horizontal jump, we are using cameras to take a correct picture of the moment of the jump. So it's a recommendation in other events, and if it's not accessible, you can use other system, other camera with lower resolution, etc., a cell phone, something to help you to judge the attempts. And obviously you can use the plasticine again, but in 90 degrees as usual. Then this is a note, this is a clarification, a note. Technical rules 32.4.4 is in throws. Sometimes the athletes use their shoes in the throws with tape all around the shoe. This is not prohibited. They can use it, but they have to show this situation to the referee. And if the referee observes any situation against the shoe regulations, the shoe rules that we talked about yesterday, he or she is going to say to the athlete that has to take out the tape. So if the referee don't see any problem, he doesn't see any problem. Sorry, he's going to compete with the shoe with the tape all around the shoe. It's not any problem. Uh, so athlete can use tape in throat shoe, yes, but he or she has to show to the judges. Then this is the same that in other throws, but now in the javelin it said that the magnesiums or prohibited substances are prohibited. Sorry about my English. In the javelin, obviously the athlete can put this magnesium in the hands, but not directly in the javelin. If the athlete put magnesium or something like this, something with stick to the javelin, it's going to be shown by the referee yellow card. It is going to be ordered to put out this substance, and if the athlete have another situation like this, he's going to receive a second yellow card and a red card and the qualification. This is prohibited assistance. And remember that since October 31st, 2025, we have new specifications about the javelin of 700 grams, the under 20 male, under 18, sorry, male javelin. We have different sizes of the implement. Remember that. About technical rule 38.3. This is a clarification. All we who are working like referees since last years know that, but sometimes some churches, some referees discussed about this. But remember that it is prohibited. This is not valid if the athlete turned completely around before the javelin has been thrown. Okay, during the thrown act. Okay, this is a situation when the athlete get the back towards the throwing arc. If the javelin is still in the hand of the athlete, he or she didn't finish the throw. The athlete cannot turn completely around and get the back to the landing zone. This is prohibited. This is a fault. Obviously, it is permitted to walk back before starting attempt. It's permitted. It's not prohibited. And finally, it's permitted to interrupt the run if the athlete is in his time and go to the runway again to start again the throw. Obviously, in the permitted time. Sorry, then we have here another clarification. Maybe it's other situations that have to be more clear in the rules after any situation in an event that is set in technical rule 32.16 and 32.4 and 5 that is not valid when the obviously when they implement in the case of the hammer, the head of the hammer touch the landing sector lines is not valid. When the landing is completely outside the lines, it's not valid. And this is new, it's not valid. This is a clarification. It's not valid when, after the throw, but before the landing, out or in the zone, touch any object different than the cage out of the landing zone. For example, a screenboard of the results. This is an example. Maybe I can't remember, but maybe Shio had any situation like this in an event. I don't have clear.
Yeah, the it happened to us before with the discus. The discus will touch the markers, the length markers, the meter markers. You see there is meter markers in the line 50, 55, 60, 65. Happened to us that it grazed one of the meter markers, and it was just like a grace, it's just minimal, but that grace in the meter marker allowed the discus to just swift back a little bit and land inside the sector zone. At that moment, it wasn't a foul, so we had to declare it good. And it was a huge controversy because with that throw, it was a lady. She was in a position to, gladly she didn't, but it was in a position to fight for a medal. She didn't end up getting it, but that situation came around, and that's why the clarification, like if touches the meter markers, is because it's going outside. It normally happens with the discus. It will be more a situation that happened before and could happen again. But the hammer will completely shatter, because normally happens, will completely shatter the meter marker, and the javelin will just go through it. Happened before, but in the discus, it happened before, and it's a clear option that it will just graze the meter marker and go back into the landing zone. But it happened before.
Okay, thank you, Shion. Remember that since 2023, it's not valid to place human fluids in the implement. If it happens, as a referee, you have to talk with the athlete and ask him or her to clean the implement. And in serious and notorious situations, you can show him or her a yellow card or a red card. Remember that this is mandatory because we have to we have health issues here. Then,
Just in case, sorry,
sorry,
Diego.
sorry, sorry,
Just in
Irwin, sorry.
case of spitting or one any kind of application, but body fluids over the implements, the athlete may can yellow card or red card, but the throw is invalid. It's not valid. It's a foul. We need say that because if you see that rule is not really new, but it's recently that change. So it's important talk about again and again because it's for hygiene. Just is
Hygiene, yeah.
hygiene.
Actually, Actually, what Irene is saying, the rule has been there for a couple of years, but it was highlighted during the COVID crisis, the COVID virus, because any fluids, any human fluids could transmit not just COVID. COVID just enhanced the situation, highlighted the situation, but even sweat or the spit is the more graphical. But any secretion, any human secretion, contains bacteria and viruses and stuff that will contaminate anyone else. So yeah, but it was highlighted during COVID, but it's been in the rule for some years. And like Irwin was saying, you need to be aware that it's a couple of different situations where normally if the athlete already performed the throw, like we were saying, the throw will be invalid. But if you notice the situation before the throw is done, you need to ask the athlete to clean the implement. It will be a yellow card on a first instance. On a second instance, it will be a second yellow card, which is a red card. And then you allow the athlete to perform the throw, let's say a throw. But if the throw happened, the throw will be invalid.
Okay, I remember that the first usage of this rule we had in Pan American Games in Santiago. In that competition, we were the first to use this rule, and we had to talk with some athletes in competition that didn't know about this.
Yeah, especially the discus thrower
Yeah,
and
I
the hammer
remember.
throwers.
I
Yeah,
I, re-
because sometimes they.
I remember in discus and in shot put.
Yeah.
Two situations there. Okay, we are going to start now with the short track. I know that in South America we don't have a lot of short tracks. Actually, we don't have no more than two or three. But it's going to be more and more common to see short tracks because this is the politics from World Athletics and they are cheaper than the standard tracks. So we must know something about short tracks. Now we have some amendments here. The first of all is a clarification that records on tracks with nominal distance other than 200 meters could be valid if the distance is no more than 201.20 meters. So if the track has 202 meters, it's going to be not valid, and if the track is about 199 meters, it's going to be valid. The other important situation is in the 800 start. The normal up to this moment that is that they are going to run the first bend in their lines and then close it. So the athletes normally are closing to the free lane after running 60 70 meters. So it was common, it was normal at the speed that be obstructions. Okay, so the rules say that it's possible to run two bends in lanes, so they are going to run by lanes almost a whole lap, and they are going to close after the breaking point. And after the breaking point in the at the end of the second bend, this is especially to avoid obstructions. And it says also that you can start in small competitions, the 800 in groups, in one groups in lane one and the other group in lane four. Obviously, when you have the official marks in the start. About the relays positioning of the second, third, and fourth athlete. We usually have the same politics, the same rule done in the track of 400 meters in the long relay of 4x4. But here, if you put the waiting athlete when his teammate who is coming pass through the enter of the second bend, you will have no more than 100 meters to put all the athletes in order. So to have more space, more time about these situations in these relays, you are allowed to put the waiting athletes when the previous athlete pass through the starting line. So you are going to have again 200 meters to order correctly the athletes. So the order of placement according to how their teammate crosses the finish line on the previous lap. As usual, it's going to be under the judge direction, and this is the recommendation, mostly in short track, that the waiting athletes must be on the outside of the track to avoid obstructions. Okay, this is in the outer open part of the track. Continue here. This is to have more space and comfort athletes. Well, something for spikes, and we have a new rules about the construction of the short track. The lanes in the oval track of 200 meters now it's mandatory to have 1.22 meters of wide, like in the standard tracks. This is like I said, there's more space and comfort for athletes. If you have a track with the rules of 1.10, it's going to be valid, but the new construction must have 1.22. Okay, then in the situation of remember that you can in some situations in the track you can replace the curves between the field and the lane one with cones. When you use cones to replace the cones must be of 0.10 0.15 meters of height. When you have group starts on the bends, the separation between with separation between the groups, the cones must to be at a maximum interval of 1.5 meters from each other. Here in short track, now it's prohibited to use flags with diagonal inclination because it could be a problem in the track. So other markers like cones or something like this could be used. Obviously, this must to be approved by the technical delegate. About the relays in short tracks, again, you know, it's you have more narrow lanes at the moment. I talk about 1.10 meters width lanes, so it's more likely to have an intentional obstruction there. So now recommendations. Maybe you saw this in the last World Championship in the short track, is to leave a lane free between the teams. So maybe you could have a final A and final B because we have a recommendation for this to avoid the unintentional obstructions. Shio, maybe you have more experience in short track, so you have experience in short track, so maybe you want to add something here.
No, it's just clarifications, but it's clarifications that come from experience, things that happen. There are actually some older tracks, short tracks, well, previously known as indoor tracks. They're actually of 1 meter width. So 1 meter is kind of, it's too narrow for especially the big athletes. So yeah, because, and it's funny because it used to be 122 for the inside track, for the straight track, a 60-meter track. On the inside of the indoor tracks, it used to be 122. And the oval track used to be from 1 to 110. It was the recommendation. So the athletes were not able to like grasp the difference, and it was hard. The athletes are kind of big, especially the men's for the 400 meters and the 800 meters. So yeah, they just learn from experience, and now the recommendation is for new track is just 122. But yeah, it's just a common knowledge that is being acquired throughout some years and some experiences, and then they are just changing. It all makes all of these changes are made because experiences that we are being encountering previous competitions. But yeah, it's just some tweaks in the rules. It's nothing pretty big except the change in the width of the track that is now 122.
Okay, thank you, Shio. Right, now we're going to in the final leg of this session. We are going to talk about shortly the start devices in the events out of stadium. Remember that we could have road races or race walk, and now any device than a gun or canyon that usual after this before this with a density sound unambiguous and with previous approval from World Athletics or from the owner of the event is going to be legal in this out of stadium event. So you could ask if we can start a road race with digital sound. Yes, yes, but it must have a distinctive and strong sound. Okay. If you are working in road races, you can see this from last years. And then now in race walk, some clarifications. We have the same recommendation as always. For the race walk charges, you must show a yellow paddle before completing a red car. The goal of this is to correct the athlete and as a political for athletics to have more athletes finishing the competitions. Remember that the red car must to have the number of the judge, the athlete ID, bib number or the name, the fall type, the time of the fall type, and this red card has effect since it's completed by the judge. It's no problem if the information to the secretary is late. It have effect when it is completed by the judge. So maybe could happen that an athlete finish the competition and after passing the finish line, the secretary receives a fault red card and he or she is going to be the queue. Okay, and about the penalty zone, remember that the situations when happens that an athlete does not enter to the penalty zone, an athlete don't stay the time and go out the penalty zone before. This must be DQ'd by the referee of the race walk, not by the race walk charges or the chief of the race walk charges. This DQ is by the referee. Okay. Uh, about race walk, this we have new distances. In 400 meters tracks, we have half marathon instead the 20,000 meters and marathon instead of 50,000 meters. In short track, it's the same as always, and in road, the same. Half marathon instead the 20 kilometers and marathon instead 35 kilometers. So in this situation, when you have a penalty zone, the time in the penalty zones, as always, is about half minute every 5,000 meters or 5 kilometers, and in the cases of half marathon, 2 minutes, and in marathon, 4 minutes in the penalty zone. About the courses of race walk, in our area we are going to have in less than 10 days World Teams Championships in Brasilia. About this, so you know that the rule says that the courses must be no shorter than 1 kilometer and no longer than 2 kilometers. So the usual is to be from 1 to 2 kilometers. But now you have the possibility to have courses shorter than 1 kilometers, but it requires a technical delegate's approval previously. So it's possible, yes, it's possible. It will not be common, it will not be normal, but if you have the approval of the technical delegate, it could be possible. And one clarification, when you have events with starts and finish at the stadium, like in the last World Championship in Tokyo, the course of 1 to 2 kilometers, must be the nearest possible to the stadium. So it's a clarification. Something about more clarifications in the mile race. Remember, we have as a standard race the mile race in stadium or in road races, and this is the only exception about the timing in road races. Remember that when you have electronic times in road races, you you have to use in cents, but the competition commission here considers that the mile race is too fast, so it could be possible to have a narrow finish by the athlete. So the times, if you are using a photo finish there, must be in miles. So this is the example for 4 minutes 5 seconds 62 miles. I think it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah,
Gio,
no,
please.
yeah, just a quick clarification on that. The distance is because it used to be 1,609 meters, but not it did not stated the point 344. Now it's stated because in the track it does include those 34 centimeters, but it didn't used to include those 34 centimeters in the road races. Now it's saying like this is the official distance. And the other thing is for the mile races, as you were saying, now we've been having some more mile races. It's becoming a common practice in road races. It's been a huge competition, and now we host normally huge competitions of 1 mile races outside the track in the streets. And sometimes it's so many athletes that we have different heats for the same category. Like let's say elite women. So we have like 8, 10 different races for the same heat, for the different heats for the same age group or the same class. And we used to have a lot of ties using just seconds. So that's why they were trying to push for this clarification to use the hundredths of a second in the mile because it's too short, like you were saying, and it's too many athletes, and so sometimes we have a lot of different heats, and they ended up having different at the same time in seconds in different heats. So this provides a little bit more specific times to be able to break a lot of those ties. So that's why we're using the hundredths of a second in miles.
Thank you, Gio. Give me 1 second. Now we are in the final stride. We are going to talk shortly about mountain and trail running. You know that these specialties, mountain and trail, are almost new in our world of athletics. But World Athletics had been working since more than 10 years with other associations, World Mountain Running Association, International Trail Running Association, and Ultra Racing Association. So they decided that it is athletics. So if it is athletics, we are referees of athletics, and we must to know at least the basis of what is mountain and trail running. It had been changing year by year because it is developing. It is new, and the experience are making some changes year and year in this situation. Remember that the new rule in Technical Rules 57 said that mountain and trail running are the same concept. Okay, this is a same criteria. So you're going to have trials of sand with sand, dirt roads, forest paths, single track footpaths, snow trails, mountain, forest, plains, deserts, uneven surface, everything like this. The most important is that the surfaces doesn't uh, can't have, sorry, more than 25% of paved surfaces. So um, this is important for the design of the course. Then in these events, the security and the health of the athletes it's very important. So the signals are bitter here. The signals must be to be sufficient and complete. And about the measurement here, we don't have the situation that it's mandatory to have aims measures here. We have the measurement of the courses with GPS directly. This is in the rules now. This is different, quite different than the road races. We don't have any limit of distance of all positive or negative elevations. The course it could be point to point, looped, etc. You can use your imaginations. Remember that here the athletes wants and needs to have new experiences. They love the new experiences here. And I talked recently about the safety and security. This is vital. So it must be guaranteed by the organization that they must have access in no more than 30 minutes since call for help. Remember that in some situations, maybe you have a lost athlete in a snow path, then you need to have the possibility to access in any place of the course in no more than 30 minutes. It's important. The security here is vital because the life is in the hands of the organizations. So it's important. Always the teams manuals are important, but here they are more important than in the normal events because strictly the rules say that the teams manuals must to have a minimum content. What it say that it must have the details of the organization, the event schedule with time limits, etc. The detailed technical information of the race with distance, goals, difficulties, scores, marking criteria, etc. The map and profile of the course, the location of the control post and medical stations. It's very important here, with special detail if the stations are supported or non supported by the teams. Sorry. Remember that here you will have some refreshment stations that can be supported by team members and some others station that the team members are not allowed to be there. Then it's very important to have in the team's manual what equipment is recommended, allowed, or mandatory. In some situations, you need to have there, for example, Gio, ayúdame, ¿cómo se dice los bastones? Me olvidé el nombre.
Atom.
Los bastones de carreras, okay,
Yeah, walking
buttons,
buttons.
okay,
Yeah.
the race buttons there, or some jacket, for rains, etc. And it's important also to write very clearly the safety rules, the penalty and the cure rules, and the regulations about external assistance. Some clarifications here. Sometimes we have narrow courses, so when you have narrow courses, it could be a good possibility to make a race against the clock, like in bike runnings, to avoid interference. So you are going to start every 5 minutes a group of 2 or 3 athletes, for example. The pacing, the assistance, sorry here, the pacing is not allowed, but in this case, could be allowed only if the specific rules of the event allows it. So if you put that as that pacing is allowed in the team's manual, it could be okay. Okay. Some situation about the ties here. The ties are allowed if you have the pre-communication by the organization. If it doesn't say anything, the ties are tacitly permitted. It must be clear and evident the intention of the athletes to be tied. For example, you see a lot of times when the athletes in the last 100 meters take their hands together, raise their hands. Well, okay, this is intention is clear and evident to be tied. So could be tied. Yes, could be like in triathlon. One note about race interference. The course must not have any interference by crowd, press, coaches, etc. No help is allowed, including information about the racing course. For example, a press member who says, "You are 2 minutes behind the first athlete." No, it's not allowed. This is assistance, okay? And this absence of interference must be guaranteed by the organization. One point that Special said, these rules about the cameramans, they must be always behind the athletes, sorry, with a distinctively identification. A strong color like a yellow, something like this, but always behind the athlete, not in front of, like in road races. Now we have race classifications here. You have here an example. We make a classification by 4 kilometer points. You add. Give me 1 second. You add 35 points. You have to add 1 point every kilometer of distance and 1 point every 100 meters of positive elevation. So in the example of the rules, if you have a race with 75 kilometers, you have 75, no, sorry, 65 kilometers, you have 65 points, and with 3,500 positive elevation, 35 points, you have 100 kilometers C4 points. So it's a classification number 3. It's going to be number 3 in the classification of trail and mountain races. The old rule said that what we are going to talk about now, it was mandatory only in World Championships. But now, this is mandatory in World Championship and also in regional championships. For example, in South American Championships. These championships, the Continental Championships, must follow the World Championship rules, okay? Not only World Championships. And it said that you have these classifications of races. Ascent with uphill no more than completely uphill, it will not have more than 60 minutes. The classic competition with up and downs up to 30 kilometers, the short trails with up and downs between 30 and 60 kilometers, and the long trail with ups and downs and more than 60 kilometers. So in the South American Championships, to we have to have these classifications in the event. And finally, we have examples of the different classifications. I'm going to read only one. For example, in the short trail, the distance must be between 35 and 45 kilometers, the elevation between 2,000 and 3,000 meters, and the main winner time must be between 3 hours 45 minutes, and 4 hours 50 minutes. And you have all here the table of examples of every specialty here. So here we have finished. I don't know if Irwin or Shio want to talk about something more,
No, I'm good.
but we are done. Okay, any question, please put your mix on or just write in the chat box. And remember that in few days you are going to have the slides and the record of the two sessions.
And please remember to write your name and country in the chat box so we have the assistance, please.
Yes, thank you, Shio.
Thank you. Thank you all.
No questions? Okay.
Okay, if
Looks
you
like we were very clear.
clear of they didn't
Oh, they
understood
didn't
me.
understood anything.
Me, only me. No, don't chase. Thank you about your presence here. Please share all the information with your local official. It's important for South American athletics. We have to share the information, the technical information. It's quite mandatory of the to do this. Thank you about your presence yesterday and today. Thank you to my friends Shio and Irwin to be here. Thank you. I'm very pleased to share this with you, and you are welcome in South American athletics.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Good
See you
night.
around, guys.
See you.